Amitav Tiwari, what will you be watching out for tomorrow, even as both the sides is getting battle ready, or should I say, ready for the counting day, which is the big day?
I think we need to watch the performance of the weak links amongst both the alliances. So we need to see the performance of the Congress party on the 61 seats it is contesting, how many it is actually winning, because the strike rate of Congress is going to be very, very important for Mahagathbandhan. Conversely, we will have to look at the strike rate of LJP, HUM, and RLM, which are also contesting 40 seats under the NDA umbrella. Secondly, is those 83 seats where the victory margin was less than equal to 5%, or those 52 seats where it was less than 5,000 votes. Which way does the mandate go this time, and how is the Jan Suraaj party performing in those 52, or let's say those 83 seats? Uh, Also, we have to see that if the mandate is fairly one-sided, like in Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra, we will have to be prepared for Mahila Rozgar Yojana or a Ladli Bahin type of scheme in all the state elections which are going to happen in the next 4-year cycle before the Lok Sabha elections. So that can become a recipe for success for all the political parties going into elections.
Okay. What about you, Sajjan? I mean, if it is about Nitish Kumar's return, as most pollsters, in fact, I would say all pollsters have predicted, of course, Amitav Tiwari's vote vibe and Access My India is talking about a margin of error, I would say, in that vote share of 43% and 41%. Margin of error is plus minus 3%, but still, it's giving a convincing victory for Nitish Kumar. I mean, a chief minister who has been in power for 20 years, if he indeed returns, then it will be a different kind of a phenomenon.
Exactly, Maria. And more than the direction, I'd be looking the intensity of the victory, whether it's really an endorsement, a farewell, as you called it, a gratitude vote for Nitish Kumar or not. This would be the first thing I would be looking into, because even with 2 to 4% edge as is being projected, the conversion in seats in Bihar is always tricky, right? So that is why one of the endorsement that we are expecting our insight from the ground, whether they are being reflected in the actual results or not. Two, very crucial would be to see whose Hanuman Chirag Paswan this time would be. Would he be playing the Hanuman for BJP in Bihar or Nitish Kumar in Bihar? That's a very crucial thing, right? We have to see that, like he was the one who sabotaged Nitish Kumar this time. Will he be playing, though he claims to be the Hanuman of Modi ji, but will he in reality be playing the role of Hanuman for Nitish Kumar or not? That is another factor. And within NDA, what is going to be the internal equation between JDU and between BJP? Because mind it, we all have been talking, and at this juncture, we are more into numbers, that Bihar is more about what is going to happen post-election, right? Rather than what is happening in the election. So that is why the internal equations, power equations within the JDU is going to be important. And three, conventional wisdom suggests that if you have one anchor, they carry the households along. But this time we are witnessing, as Amitav Tiwari is also getting the insight from his own study and other, that we have two anchors. One is the Mahila and other is the Yuva, and they are looking into two different directions, right? So that is why I would be looking with the kind of mandate that we are right now into the penultimate stage. Tomorrow would be the ultimate one. Ultimately, whether Mahila and Yuva would be at crossroads or they would be looking in the same direction, right, with certain differing degrees.
Yeah,
These are the,
in
yeah.
fact, what the research, or should I say, the projection of Access My India is, and I'll ask the producer to put that on our television screens. It appears certainly that there is the 2%, which is that in that bracket of 18 to 25. There's not much of a traction. I mean, the gap is not much. So even when we say that Yuva is moving towards one side, may not be the correct assessment, because their impact is less. So their share in the overall picture is much less. women tend to still dominate over the Yuva of Bihar, Rajat Sethi. So, you know, the Yuva of Bihar, even the unemployed youth may be getting enamored by Tejashwi Yadav, may have got his proposal of 2.5 crore government jobs. But the larger picture is that is the Mahila, which is the dominant vote, which will be the striking rate if it actually any side gets it right. It will be about the women of Bihar.
See, this is the reason why in the data you're seeing NDA being given 2% higher. In this, MY thing, this Mahila Yuva thing, Mahila has a greater weight. There is no two doubts about it.
Yeah.
Right? And because of this greater weight to Mahila, just because of the sheer numbers, that women voters are more. This is the precise reason why even Access My India has given 43% to NDA and 41% to Mahagathbandhan. And what happens is this 2% spillover across the board is going to result in, if not an extremely sweeping majority for the NDA, but just a silent majority for the NDA. So this election was a boring election, and the outcome might as well just be a boring outcome, is what I foresee.
Okay,
And doing a very detailed analysis, Maria, what happens is that, and this is at least my 15th election analysis that I'm doing at a relatively young age, unlike Rajdeep. But I can tell you, we try to hyperventilate over exit polls, and then tomorrow you have to withdraw every line that you have said, because people tend to copy paste what you have said, around the exit poll analysis and on the results day analysis. Now we are beating ourselves around, Yuva and Mahila dichotomy.
Acha.
Tomorrow, this dichotomy might not even exist. So who knows? So again, exit polls should be seen as largely as a trend line, but don't overanalyze it to an extent where we become trolls tomorroa.
Okay,
That's my
okay.
limited point.
You don't want to be
Because,
trolled tomorrow, and I agree with
people
you.
will
If
take
nobody
things out of
should be
context,
trolled.
and they'll be like, "Oh, you were saying that Mahila and Yuva are voting predominantly towards Mahagathbandhan. Look at what has happened.
Yes.
Mahagathbandhan has got under 100 seats, and NDA has got 160 seats. So everything falls flat. So directionally, I think everybody, whosoever is saying, even if it is a tighter context, directionally, people are saying that it might be a thin, slim majority for the NDA. And that's about it. And that could as well be an utterly false prediction. And it could be the other way around. But what we are seeing is there was no wave election. We all can understand that. There could be a silent wave tomorrow that women have come out overwhelmingly. And we will see something like Maharashtra. I again recount, Maharashtra has been one of the most outlier elections that we have seen in the recent times. It
Even
was a very
Haryana.
quiet election. In
Even
a
Haryana.
very short duration of time, it switched completely 180 degree. We have not seen this happen. We have not seen the kind of mandate that was given largely because of a singular scheme. There was no narrative. There was caste battle. There was somebody who was fasting unto death on caste lines. And still we saw this overwhelming majority which cut through all castes. So electorate is used to surprising us analysts. And we should keep that window of opportunity open for the electorate to
I
continue
agree
to
with you.
surprise
So,
us even
Amitav
tomorrow.
Tiwari, where do you think the pollsters can go wrong tomorrow? Because it's a very difficult state to predict. And every time there has been a surge in voter turnout, it doesn't really mean change. There are multiple instances where the voter turnout has been aligned with government change, but there has been equal number of instances where the government change has not happened. In fact, it has meant continuity, because the voter turnout means more enthusiasm. And particularly if you look at it, that is the trend which happened in 2005. We know about it, October 2005. And interestingly, if you look at various elections, 2010, again Nitish Kumar returns with a bigger mandate and is also chosen as the leader that Bihar believes in.
No, essentially, if you look at the increase in turnout in Bihar, what we see is that the Nitish Kumar is the common denominator of sorts, because he has benefited from this higher turnout, becoming chief minister again in 2010 with NDA, 2015 with Mahagathbandhan, and 2020 again with NDA. So technically, one can say that in 2015, with a higher turnout, the government changed because the composition of the government changed from BJP plus JDU to RJD plus JDU. And then again in 2020, the composition of the government changed from RJD plus JDU to JDU plus BJP. So what are the risk factors? The risk factors are primarily, I would say, are three risk factors. One is a risk of seamless vote transfer between the NDA alliance partners, primarily JDU and BJP, and JDU and LJP because of the historical differences on the Mahadalits and Dalit category creation. Then is the uh, amount or the propensity of the women voters to vote on a caste neutral basis. So most of the surveys are giving a higher support for women amongst NDA. But if they vote along caste or religious lines, what is likely to happen is that alpha or that lead which the NDA has amongst women is likely to get reduced, and that could impact the results and the projections. And the third, of course, is the Suraaj factor or the Prashant Kishor factor, which is in most surveys is between 4 to 5% range. Even in our vote vibe survey is 5%. But if he polls anything more than that, then on very close seats, he could play the role of a kingmaker. So Jansuraj party is like a rocket, is like a desi rocket. I mean, once you fire
Chances
it, you
that because he's a new player, the assessment by most pollsters may not be correct.
happens is that the awareness about the symbol is also not that great. I mean, Bihar is a highly rural area, and in our tracker in Vote Vibe, we saw that 48% of the people still didn't know what is the symbol of Jan Suraj, despite all this social media campaign. So there are very nuances and layers within layers, and as Rajat has said, is what that most of the election analysis is now a post-mortem analysis, which we will have to do, or which will set the tone once the final results of the numbers start coming out.
Okay, Rajat Sethi, this was largely a
Yeah.
bipolar contest, as is becoming evident now, based on what the pollsters have said. So where do you think the assessment could go wrong?
So it was always a bipolar election. The only polls that were projecting it were some of the political stock exchange that your channel were putting up, which were putting us in a different direction, as if it's a triangular contest or even the hope of a triangular contest. Logics were built around that there is 20-25% vote which goes to the others category, and therefore it can be made into a triangular contest. It was never a triangular contest, just because of the complexity of the electorate. There were always these spillover votes which went beyond the two blocks. And the last time we saw two major parties which were out of the fold of the two principal alliances. This was why the number was big. We will see shrinking of the other space. I don't see miscalculation on Jan Swaraj resulting in any major issue. That is not the issue. The only issue that we need to be mindful of is how much of contested surveys of contested voters, of the voters who had actually voted, did we undercount or overcount? Typically what happens in an exit poll, while for simplifying it for your viewers, if you survey a person, a voter, and record his preference, did that voter actually go out and vote or not, and doing an accurate assessment of that in so that it represents the electorate, that is a very difficult exercise that you have to do only after the polling is over. In that process, you tend to undercount or overcount certain segments of voters, which can principally bring in certain errors. But any party, for that matter, does multiple rounds of votes, and every round of polling or every round of analysis that you do, or opinion poll, exit poll that you do, has to sync up with the previous study. If it is not syncing up, if there is an outlier, that has to be explained rationally. So I believe political parties who have the resources to do these series of surveys all throughout the election cycle have a far better idea. Therefore, if one thing beyond exit polls that you should look at is the body language of the incumbent and the body language of the principal challenger. I'll keep it open to the viewers. Look at how Tejashwi is speaking and addressing the press conferences. Do you see confidence or you don't see confidence? Versus that, look at the BJP leaders perhaps. You will yourself understand which way the wind is.
Not really, because I don't pay much of an attention of a reaction of a leader just ahead. I could also see this as caution because of what really happened in 2020. So I would not pay much of an attention to that kind of what is being declared
no,
as
but Maria,
conceding. No, that's a little unfair.
for an
Rajat,
organization, the kind of feedback that you get from your organizational workers on the ground is the
no,
best
I
method.
agree.
There
Organizationally,
is no alternative to that. Let me tell you,
yes,
don't underestimate the power of these political parties, the way,
yes,
the network they have, the information they have. Individual candidates, if you speak to, they know exactly what has happened. They might not come out and acknowledge it, but they know it.
yes, they do know it.